Alright folks, today I've got two crazy Reddit stories from r/PettyRevenge. In today's lineup, we've got a story of an ingenious pizza worker outmaneuvering an overbearing area manager, ensuring an unsuspecting homeless man enjoys a hot meal each night. Following that, we'll take a turn into college life, where a creative student teaches a lesson to a housemate who has a knack for stealing food. Alrighty, let's dive in. Can't buy a homeless man a pizza? Fine by me. Posted by HugeBuddy2216. Back in the early 2000s, I worked at a renowned U.S. pizza delivery chain store. If you've ever had the pleasure of working in the U.S. food service industry, you'll recognize a failing restaurant when you see it. On many nights, the entire establishment was managed solely by me and one driver. Taking breaks wasn't an option, as that would leave the restaurant unmanned. The recent franchise buyers, who were absolutely clueless, would make surprise visits just to berate me. To top it all off, the vast majority of our customers only ordered once and never returned. Deliveries took over 90 minutes and we had people returning their pizzas to the store. It was a complete nightmare. For overseeing this chaos, I was paid $8.50 an hour. One particularly quiet night, while I was watching the clock tick towards 11 p.m., a clearly homeless man walked in. He introduced himself as Ricky and inquired if we had any leftover pizzas that hadn't been collected. Regrettably, I told him we didn't have any. He smiled, thanked me, and then seeing my sympathetic mood, mentioned that he enjoyed the Meat Lover's pizza. Considering his request was far from unreasonable compared to some of our customers, I'm referring to you, Mr. Teriyaki Bacon and Sardines guy, I agreed to make one for him. Ricky was so grateful that he sat down and started bouncing in his seat like a child. I took the order, paying for it myself. It cost $12, roughly equivalent to an hour and a half's work for me. A fair trade, I thought. Ricky watched and applauded my dough-slapping and spinning skills. Just as the pizza was coming out of the oven, in walked the area manager, the franchise owner's brother. As usual, he began to shout and accuse me of stealing from the store. In the midst of his tirade, one of our few regulars, Henry, walked in. Upon hearing the commotion, Henry looked incredibly uncomfortable. I eventually informed the area manager that I had paid for the pizza with my own money. He continued to shout, called me a liar, and warned me that the cash count better be accurate that night before storming off. I apologized to Henry and Ricky, and both of them, sympathizing with my plight as an 18-year-old kid, said, "Yeah, work does suck, doesn't it?" Ricky and Henry collected their pizzas and left around the same time. I saw them conversing outside. The next night, Henry called me to place an order, unusual because he was typically a once-a-week customer. Even stranger was his order, a Meat Lover's pizza instead of his regular Supreme. I prepared the pizza, but 20 minutes later, Henry called again to cancel his order. I said that was fine. Coincidentally, Ricky walked in around that time asking for a pizza. I happened to have one under the heater that was going to go uneaten. Thus, a nightly routine began. Henry would call to order a Meat Lover's pizza, which I'd prepare. Then he would call again to cancel, just as Ricky would coincidentally arrive. This happened every night at the same time like clockwork and continued for months. Eventually, the area manager got wind of our arrangement because a bootlicking coworker ratted me out, but I defended myself, stating I was merely doing my job as instructed. Consequently, they quietly removed me from the schedule, effectively firing me, but frankly, I didn't care. About a year later, the restaurant shut down. While it wasn't entirely down to Henry, I was nonetheless pleased to see it go. Okay, wow. Our unsung hero working the pizza counter, the misunderstood Ricky, the amazing human being that is Henry, and of course the villain of the piece, the area manager. Honestly, if this story was a pizza, it'd be the ultimate feast of humanity with extra karma on top. The pizza joint transforms into a theater of human nature where generosity and cleverness confront inconsideration and irrationality. Henry's perfectly timed orders and cancellations, Ricky's elated innocence, and our protagonist's intelligence in handling the sticky situation are all ingredients that make this story a true delicacy. The ultimate slice of satisfaction, the unsuspecting area manager completely clueless about the nightly pizza dance. That's some delicious, cheesy revenge served hot, ladies and gents. Don't Steal My Brownie Soldier, posted by Tom Marvolo Tomato. In my college days, quite a few decades ago, I resided off campus in a large house repurposed into multiple individual rooms. The only shared space was the kitchen. One evening, I prepared a batch of standard Duncan Hines brownies intended for my girlfriend. After taking them out of the oven to cool, I dashed to my room to fetch my jacket. During my brief absence, half of the pan was swiftly devoured by one of my housemates, who I'll refer to as Cadet Doofus. He was still sitting there, his shirt and hands smeared with brownie crumbs, wearing an idiotic grin. When I returned, he looked at me and proudly declared, were those your brownies? They were delicious. Now, Cadet Doofus was known in our house for being a slob, a bully, a food thief, and generally lacking in intelligence. At 6'4" and 250 pounds, with no muscle to speak of, no one was fond of him. However, his timely rent payments made eviction impossible. Cadet Doofus was also a member of the ROTC, Reserve Officer Training Corps, a college program that trains students to become officers in the U.S. military. This program has strict rules, especially regarding substance intake. Coincidentally, I had my own reputation in the house as a regular user of cannabis and as someone more intellectually endowed than your average military hopeful. I stared at Cadet Doofus in disbelief. "You ate all my brownies!" I yelled, which drew the attention of the housemates next door watching TV. Yep, Cadet Doofus responded, grinning stupidly and licking his fingers. "You owe me $2.50 for the brownie mix," I continued, raising my voice. Yeah, sure, I'll get that to you next week, maybe, or not. And you also owe me $50 for all the pot that was in those brownies, I bellowed louder, prompting giggles from the housemates in the next room. What? The pot? The marijuana in those brownies? You've just devoured a week's supply of weed, I shouted back. This drama began to draw a crowd of housemates. Panic washed over his dull face. "I can't have any of that marijuana. I'll lose my scholarship." I glanced at my watch dramatically. "And it gets worse. You have about an hour before the effects kick in. Given the amount you've consumed, you're going to be high for the next 2 days." Now Cadet Doofus looked genuinely terrified. "Oh no! I have drill instruction all day tomorrow. They'll know. What do I do? We need to purge this from your system, fast, before the high sets in." With that, my housemates and I seized Cadet Doofus, dragging him to the bathroom, and began devising odd ways to make him regurgitate the brownies. We tried a glass of salt water, a finger down his throat tickling the back of his tongue with a spoon, and firm back thumps. After 20 minutes, he finally relinquished the brownies to the porcelain god. He collapsed on the bathroom floor, sweat pouring, tears streaming, and body shaking before looking up at me. "Thanks, man, for saving me from getting high and losing my scholarship." He reached into his pocket, extracted a couple of 20s, and said, "Here, man, take this and I'll pay you back the rest next week, and I promise not to eat your stuff again." Slowly, he picked himself up and stumbled back to his room. I returned to my room, made a second batch of equally tasty and drug-free brownies for my girlfriend. Cadet Doofus never stole anyone's food again. Let's break down the absolute genius that is this story. Cadet Doofus, the notorious food thief, finally meets his match. Our quick-witted protagonist doesn't just let his stolen brownie slide. No, he creates a revenge plot that's sweeter than any dessert. The tale takes a hilarious turn as Cadet Doofus is forced to empty his stomach, filled with dread about the false promise of an impending high. His retribution is watching the hard-earned cash slipping from his hand and the stolen food slipping from his stomach. The story's aftertaste? The knowledge that our protagonist got to enjoy his brownie making in peace. So here's a toast to our hero who made sure Cadet Doofus never nabbed another nibble. Cheers to the sweet taste of petty revenge. Hey, wait! As always, don't forget to kindly tap the like button, share, subscribe, and let me know in the comments below what you would have done if you were in this situation. Stay safe out there in that crazy world. Much love, peace.